These are assembly instructions for my Noel card. So these two pieces are the base of my card, and I have cut them out of 65-pound shimmer cardstock, but I plan to add on a lot of layers to make my card nice and sturdy. So I'm going to rotate my card. I have vertical sliver cuts on my card, and I have horizontal score lines. The first score line on my left is much closer to the edge of my card than the last score line that's on my right. I'm putting my nail on the score line, and I'm just folding my cardstock towards me. And I'm doing that for all 4 of those score lines. And then I have a score line here. I'm just pinching down on it. At the end of this vertical sliver cut, I have a horizontal score line. I'm pinching on it. Same thing on the one beside it, and again on the last one. So now I'm just going to fold the entire panel down so that it collapses towards me. When I fold it down, I want to make sure that my top edge is even and my bottom edges are even as well. So I'm rotating my panel again, so then I have the second panel for my card base, and I'm folding down on the score line that forms that side tab. I'm putting glue all over that side tab from the score line to the edge. So my panel folds onto itself like so. I'm gluing this side of this panel to that tab that's on my other card base. I want the cut edge of it to be right along the score line of my tab, and the top and the bottom are even. I'm folding that rectangular panel onto itself. So this creates a 5x7 card, but when you open it, you have a lot more real estate. I have some decorative panels for the inside of my card. I'm just matching up my panels and gluing them onto my card base. So this is for the interior of my card, and I've just cut some Christmas themed pattern cardstock. So for all 3 panels, as I'm gluing them down, I'm trying to leave the tiniest of border all the way around. So next I have the letters that spell out Noel. The dark teal colored ones are cut out of 110-pound cardstock, and I'm gluing them down to a silver foil cardstock base. And then I'm putting glue on the underside of my letters. I'm gluing them down to the center of these square panels. So I'm doing the exact same thing with all 4 of them. So now that I've glued on my letters, I'm going to glue them onto the steps of my card, trying to center them as best I can where they belong on the card base. All right, so next I have all the pieces for my candle. I'm going to start by gluing down the flames on all 3 of my candles. So I have 2 different colors of yellow to glue onto my candle piece. So my candles are cut out of more of that 110-pound cardstock, the cardstock that I used on the letters for Noel. And with the smaller yellow flame, I'm just gluing it a little bit closer to the base of my candle. And I'm doing that for all 3 of them. So I've got this semicircle that's supposed to represent the light that's being cast by my candles. I'm trying to center it as best I can and glue it the top edge of my pattern cardstock like so. And then I'm dry fitting my candle pieces. I got the tallest one on the right hand side, and then the second tallest one is going to go on the left hand side, and the shortest one goes in the center. So I'm just going to glue them down as you see here. The candlestick holders are cut out of gold foil cardstock. So next I have my sentiment. It is print and cut, and I'm gluing it down to a foil cardstock base. Putting glue on the underside of it, gluing it down here. Next I'm going to work on the flowers, and I haven't decided how many of them I'm going to use. So I'm just going to make them all, and I can keep whatever's left over for future projects. So I'm using a small stylus with a rounded end. This is actually a cake decorating stylus, but it works very well on paper crafts. And then I have this foam mat that I'm using. You could probably use a mouse pad or some very thick craft foam if you don't have anything like this. And I'm just starting in the center, and I'm working my way out just to form a little bit of cupping on my flowers. And I'm going to do that with the leaves as well. So just start in the center and then work my way out to every single petal. All of these flowers and these leaves were cut out of 80-pound Cricut cardstock. So now that I've finished shaping them, some of my flowers are a little bit smaller and some of them are a little bit bigger. I'm putting glue in the center of one of the larger ones, and I'm stacking the smaller one right on top of the center. But I want the petals of the top layer to fill in the gap between the petals on the layer below it, like so. I'm going to take another large flower piece. and I'm positioning the 2 other layers right on top of it. And again, I want the petals to be a little bit askew so you can see them. And then I'm taking the leaves, or the green ones, and then I'm centering my red layers on top of it. And then I have these adhesive back rhinestones, and then I'm placing a rhinestone in the center and adhering it to the center of my flower. I'm going to keep creating the flowers, and as I said, I don't know how many I'm going to actually use, but it's nice to have a few of these in your stash to add to other cards. So I've already dry fitted the flowers and the leaves. Now I'm going to glue them down. So next I'm going to make a bow to decorate my card. I have 2 identical pieces that are cut out of 110-pound cardstock, and I'm just gluing them back to back to form one sturdy piece. My ribbon is 5/8 of an inch wide and 12 inches long. I've got about 3 inches on the right hand side. I'm going to take the other end, so the end that's on my left, and then fold it over, and I want it above the ribbon that's on my right hand side. Then I'm going to slip my ribbon between the 2 sides of my template at the bottom of the horizontal part, and then I'm going to raise it up and then lower it between the 2 sides of my template. I'm flipping my template around, so I'm looking at the underside of it, and then I'm making a knot. And as I'm making a knot, I'm kind of pulling both ends of my ribbon downwards like so. And then I'm going to remove my ribbon from my template, and I'm going to cut the ends of it at an angle. I'm looking at the underside of my bow, and I'm putting some red line tape just over the knot. Then I'm removing the liner from my red line tape, and I'm just positioning my bow. I have my card closed. I'm looking at the outside of it, and I have some 110-pound cardstock. I'm gluing 3 panels down to the exterior of my card. I've got the rectangular one that fits on the cover, and then I have the slimmer one that fits on the back. And then I have the panel that goes in between the 3. And I'm just going to glue that one down as well. So that's the inside, and that's the outside. So for the cover of my card, I have a panel that I have embossed. The embossing that you see on this panel was done with an embossing folder and an embossing machine, so it wasn't done using my Cricut machine. So the front panel has 2 gift tags. So I want to place them so that they're at an angle from one another, but they still fit within the sides of my card. So I'm putting glue on the underside of my patterned cardstock, and I'm positioning it at an angle. And then I have 2 different colors of ribbon. I'm cutting 8 inches of both. I'm folding them in half. I'm inserting them into the hole that's at the top of my tag. And so then I'm taking those 4 ends and I'm inserting them into the loop that's created. So all 4 of them have been passed through the loop, and then I am pulling my ribbon taut, and then I'm going to cut the ends off at an angle. And then I'm putting glue on the underside of my tags and gluing them onto the embossed panel that goes on the front of my card. Then I'm gluing down my sentiment onto its offset layer. So that's printed and cut on shimmer paper that I've glued onto a piece of 110-pound cardstock. Then I'm gluing down my greenery and gluing down my flowers. So in the end, I only used 6 of those flowers. I used 3 poinsettias in the front and 3 on the inside. And I'm just going to glue down my sentiment. And then I'm just gluing this to the front of my card. I think I'm going to trim these a little more. And that's my Noel card.